welcome to the channel. In this video we're going to talk about Tesla. We're going to look at the daily chart, the weekly chart. Basically we look at the charts to give us a little bit of an edge. It helps us identify where price is going to go in the short term, long term. It helps us remain calm when markets are choppy. It helps us know when we've got a good price, when we can get good risk reward entries and then de-risk as things get a little bit spicy. Other than that, we're going to take a look at the short and long dated open options interest. That gives us a little bit of an insight in what the big boys in the market are doing. We're going to look at the Tesla news, see what's coming on the horizon. Is it exciting? Is there some bad news coming? All that good stuff. Other than that, though, if you can't be bothered to stick around for the main content of this video, I'm still super bullish on Tesla, and that's pretty much the key takeaway. Other than that, my live portfolio there is linked in the description below, and I've chucked it up on the screen there for you. Doing pretty good for the last 2 years there. All right, everyone's favorite stock to critique, Tesla, and no doubt going to have tons of haters on this one because everyone is spitting on Tesla from great height these days. But really, my valuations haven't changed. Kind of sticking with the 500, 700 year end. I think this H2 is going to be the boomer for Tesla. I've been saying since end of last year that the first half of this year is going to be rough for them with the production changes and stuff like that. But it's going to be really hard to pinpoint exactly an exact price target for Tesla just because there's so much going on, so many moving parts, and so much we don't know. The prices they're going to be coming in with the new stuff, the timelines and all that stuff. So it's going to be really difficult. All I know is I'm super bullish on them still. That hasn't changed. 2026, I think, is where we're going to see most of the new stuff that's coming in 2025 hit the financials. But as we know, people like to front run with Tesla because it's such a high growth company. It's really just like options trading without the options drama. So yeah, let's look at the chart. Moving on to this screen. Obviously, we have the hell of a ride up there. Probably should have trimmed out more. It was getting a bit egregiously overpriced up there at kind of 444 area. That really was a signal there. We got over Fibonacci. Should have trimmed more, but I was a little bit timid. I thought it was just going to keep running. But, you know, not always right all the time. But the main thing is I'm right enough of the time. So I was able to add when we did fall down, which was quite nice. Obviously, we had a really nice kind of chopping pattern here. We got back down to the golden Fibonacci level, which is normally a really good area to bounce on. The bull market support band was getting very thin though, so I'm not really too surprised when that gave way. So then we had kind of the measured downward move to this kind of 234, and I've just been piling on shares in that area. I would actually love to buy more Tesla. I think the bottom might be in here. We've had a lot of golden bars on the flow indicator, and really the MACD Plus hasn't been expanding. We've had 2 bottom catches as well, which did pretty much time the triple bottom now, we can say it is. So I think Tesla's only going to fall really getting in its own way again. But I know Elon likes flapping his chops just like Trump these days. So, I mean, it's actually a gift if he wanted to do that, because I would love to buy under kind of that basing area. But the volume here, people are loving buying the shares in this area. The bull market support band, though, is very chunky right now, so it's going to be hard to break above that. So we could potentially see price move up to kind of 290, 300, hit its head a few times, wait for that bull market band to fall down. If we do get into it, the red part of it's going to be very stiff. That said, there's a very large volume gap here, up to kind of 340. So if we can get in that area, chances are we'll move very quickly up to that 340 area and then bounce back down again, probably back down to about 300. So again, Tesla's been great for trading. So anyone that wants to trade this has probably done quite well. Super volatile, way more than usual. For me, though, I'm just kind of moving with the undulations, as it were, on this one, capitalizing on that. But I don't really want to sell out too much because one thing could trigger this to rocket and I don't want to miss it. Same could be said on the downside, though. One comment could tank it, in which case I can put in some dry powder and benefit from it that way. What else was there on the chart? RSI is kind of neutral, really not too much exciting. Again, this is just really trading on sentiment these days. Tesla's always going to be what most people would consider overpriced. It's just how it trades. It's super high growth, so people want to front run that, and that makes it seem expensive at the time until it grows into that valuation. eventually it will get super over even what I would consider is egregiously overvalued, like it has done in the past at the previous high, in which case probably take some risk off the table, because even if all of the new products gets nailed perfectly, then it probably is too overpriced. Let's have a quick look at the weekly though. But again, back here, this is where price started to get very, very rich. So if you weren't taking profit here, you're kind of asking for that drop. Not really. I mean, you could argue that's a cup and handle, but it's quite messy. Probably wouldn't trade it as that. But I do expect it to kind of get up to this 668 by year end or early 2026. So that's kind of the prices I'm working with. On that one, weekly chart, though, we do have a death cross coming, which is quite bearish. I would like to see that invalidated. But again, we've got earnings in two weeks, I think, on the 22nd of April. That's probably going to be a miss. What was it last time? I can't actually remember. I mean, they've given themselves room for error on this one, but obviously with the production changes and whatnot, we'll see. I'd love to see a beat, but again, a beat on earnings doesn't really mean much for Tesla. It can tank on a beat and it can rocket on a miss. So it really is sentiment driven. So if you think you can trade earnings on this one based on your projections, if it's going to beat or not, then all the power to you, sir. Moving on to open options interest for Tesla then. Looking straight at the chart, $50 strike. There's a lot of volume there. Interesting. That seems quite ambitious given the fact that it's actually a short week this week with no trading on Friday. I'd probably say that's not going to hit, but regardless of that, the market makers are sitting at $200, so that's kind of where I visualize the bottom being. We talked about that when we looked at the actual chart. 265 as well, resistance. We can see market makers want to keep it under there. Makes sense. A lot of traders will be looking at those levels for breakouts. Max pain they want, so they want to keep it under there and let all these options expire worthless essentially. But other than that, let's pull the chart down a little bit. Really, most of the volume kind of sitting in the 280 range. Let's push it out a week. So let's see, a lot of investors are kind of positioning themselves for a bearish tilt on earnings. Like I said, it's probably going to be a miss, but we'll see what the numbers say. I probably wouldn't trade options on Tesla earnings, given how unpredictable they are. But these brave folks, I would love if we did push down. I can't stress that enough. Whilst I think the bottom's in, I would absolutely love if we got under $200 again. Be super excited. So I'm going to push out. I hate how this is so dark. I can't see it, to January 2026. So first part of next year. So this has changed quite a lot since I last looked, actually. It's super. To me, this says really no one's got a clue. We've got a lot of bearishness, a lot of bullishness, and some crazy bullishness up there. But I think this is just going to be the year of chop for Tesla. Let's push it out to, where can we go? We can go January 2027, which I think is going to be where it's a lot more calm. A lot of the new products by now will have been hitting the financials for 2026, like we talked about earlier, and a lot of volume here for bullishness. I mean, that's quite bullish, but it does align with our expectation that there's going to be a lot of chop whilst they ramp up. But it's always the way. Their ramping's got a lot better lately, actually, a lot faster, so that's exciting. Moving on to Tesla news, we can see I've put earnings up there. They've lowballed it. We talked about that earlier. And then someone on X has put that Trump's going to help other car companies, and they've put it's bullish for Tesla. Could argue that it's not necessarily bullish for Tesla, since Tesla's probably one of the best positioned car manufacturers to take advantage of the tariffs as they make other car companies weaker. But I don't think that's particularly Elon's MO, as many people as much as people want to lynch him for some of the things he does, he's not really about taking other car companies down. He's kind of given them the keys to the kingdom, and a lot of them didn't want to do anything with it, but he's shared most of his designs with them before. Other than that, there's so much conflicting news about sales. Sales is good, sales is bad. I put on a couple of charts I found around there. We've got Korea, we've got Europe, we've got the US. I think the main takeaway from this for me is there is going to be some brand damage. I'm not arguing that there isn't brand damage, but a lot of the slowdown has been from the Model Y refresh. If we look at the actual models that have been selling, we won't really know the details of that until we get the exact numbers from Tesla regarding sales and all that good stuff. As much as people like to just use the insurance numbers, especially for China, but obviously sales in China are kind of a bad gauge since China's going through some economic drama. So I wouldn't base all of my thesis purely on that being the reason. So I think what a lot of people are missing is that they're still valuing Tesla just on car sales. So I've put the sales per segment down there at the bottom, and you can see the light blue, energy and services. They're really starting to make up bigger and bigger chunks of the revenue that gets generated for Tesla. So to base your whole thesis for Tesla purely on their car sales, whilst it's still a really large segment and it's still totally valid, it shouldn't be the only thing you're basing your valuations on, especially given the Shanghai Megapack factories coming online now, and they've started production. Obviously, that doubled the capacity, so energy is going to be getting bigger. Demand for there is years out, and obviously services and the software margins are just insane. So just bear that in mind before you jump on the bandwagon. Sales is slightly down. Okay, so obviously could be wrong on that. Maybe sales have taken a massive, great big doo-doo. Won't know that exactly until earnings. So worth a little bit of patience. Rely on the data that you can see, not what the fearmongers are saying. Because for every person that hates Tesla online, there's someone that loves it. You just have to look a little bit harder for it. So always do your own research. Don't just go on what is being hyped around, because oftentimes that's wrong. We've seen it with companies like Meta. Everyone hated them. Robin Hood is an even better example. Do you know who was hated nearly more than Elon? Vlad Tenev. If you've watched the Dumb Money film, that'll give you an idea of how people felt about Vlad Tenev during the rough times for Robin Hood. And now look at the company. Retail investors can't get enough of it. So that just goes to show that sentiment can shift regarding one person. I mean, who knows what'll happen. That's us all done and dusted for another Tesla Tuesday wrap up. If you enjoyed this content, give the video a like, share it with your mum, your nan, your dog, your dad, whoever, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you tomorrow.